Hey you all, it's Dayna with the Hardin County Extension Office, and I so wish that we were in person to be able to do this video, but when they called and asked if I would do a nutrition video for you all, um, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity because I've loved for the past several years getting to do some sort of nutritional program with you all as your training each year. So I hope you're all well. I hope all of your kids are well, and hopefully next year's training we will get to do this again in person. Because for me, I love teaching more hands-on, and I hope that you all enjoy learning hands-on like we typically do. So I'm going to do my best to make this short but still informative, and show you some things that I hope will help you in your child care centers. So we're going to talk a little bit of nutrition, but mostly today I want to talk to you about getting your kids that you watch involved in the kitchen. So I realized that some of the tips that I give you would be easier with one-on-one kids or a small number, and that you do have big, but there's a lot of different ways that you can adapt what I'll talk about to larger groups of kids and get them involved in the kitchen, which in turn has a nutritional value, because when we can get kids involved in the kitchen, they're much more likely to eat whatever we've prepared, but also more importantly, eat new things. So if they have touched it and smelled it and messed with it, they're much more likely to try it if it's a new fruit or a new vegetable or something like that. So a couple of things I'm going to start off with, and then I'm actually going to show you two different videos where I have kids using some of the things that I'm going to talk about. One is my daughter, who is not yet 2, so this is to give you some reference. She uses several things in the video that we'll talk about, a lot of different skills that kids can learn, because we're going to talk about what kids can learn when they get to help in the food preparation process. And then 2, the older kids, my nephew is 5 and my niece is 9, and they help in one of the videos as well, and they're using some child-safe knives and different things like that. And so just to show you, plus they're almost a hoot to watch just because they were having so much fun helping me in the kitchen one day. And then on top of that, I'll give you the recipes that they prepared, and so these are things that you may be able to use in your centers as well. So start off, I'm going to talk about just cooking with kids. Why do it, right? So we want to cook with kids, get kids involved in the kitchen, just because of all that it teaches them. You're not only teaching them the obvious things of how to prepare food, eventually for themselves, but the motor skills that they get, when they're pouring, or when they're stirring, all these different things. They are building both fine and gross motor skills when they are doing simple kitchen tasks. If you think about if you have them put shredded cheese on a casserole or something like that, the movement that they get just from using their hands like that, all these little simple tasks that we don't even think about, they're building motor skills as they do them. Not to mention the math skills. So if you have a recipe and you say, okay, let's count the eggs, let's count the peppers, whatever it is, the banana slices. How many slices does this banana make? Anything like that. Getting those kids to count, even if they can't count yet, if you count with them, I promise that they're listening and they're learning, and I know that you all know that. My daughter, actually, I'll brag for a second, she turns 2 in October, the end of October, and about 2 weeks ago we were in her room and we were coloring, which is one of her favorite things to do, and all of a sudden she went to pick up her crayons, and as she picked them up she said 1, 2, 3, and I had never heard her count herself independently before, and it's not like I encouraged her to do that or I asked her to do that, but whenever my husband colors with her, he does that. He picks up his crayons and he counts, and so she was watching and learning the whole time, which I think was great. And so that can play out in the kitchen as well, which I think is really important. So have them count with you. A lot of math things, when we add this half a cup and this half a cup, we pour them together, they make 1 cup. And that seems like maybe it's too big of a skill for them, but it's not. You can never start talking about those things early enough. So they may not grasp it right away, but when they are old enough to grasp it, they'll be like, oh yeah, we've been doing that, and they kind of catch on. Science, obviously, baking especially is a science. It is chemistry. It is, we make this, and we mix them together and they make this. And if we mix them together in the wrong proportions, they make this, and it's not as good as this. That's a really fun way to do a cooking experiment, is to, use regular butter and then use softened butter and then use melted butter, which doesn't sound like it would make that big of a difference, but you can totally see how that plays out in cookies. or just different things like that. With salt, you can do a small little recipe with salt, and we just have a little bit. We have a little bit more and a little bit more, and you can see how much that is all affected, and it all can play out, and that's a science skill. And then just basic skills, right? You know, again, the pouring and the this goes with this and this goes here and that kind of thing. We need this to fit in this pan, or this measuring cup, whatever it is. And then one of the important ones for me is it just builds their confidence. And so when you let a kid pour the water into the bowl, and it's okay if they spill a little bit, or you let them crack an egg, and it's okay if they get a little bit of shell in it, you can scoop that out later. They build quite a bit of confidence. So there are some tools that I want to show you that can make cooking with kids in the kitchen quite a bit easier. And I wish I would have brought my set of small utensils from home that my daughter uses, but you can go to certain stores. The best one, you know, is ones that have very inexpensive things. Typically everything is around $1. But they have utensils that are mostly silicone. A lot of them are, and they're about this tall, which I know you can't see that, but they're like miniature utensils. And so we have a miniature whisk, spatula, ladle, scraper, something else, and a spoon, a big spoon. And those are things that my daughter can use. So she can mimic exactly what I'm doing, but with her own utensils that fit her hands, and work much better for her. And so those are a great investment. She plays with them, play in our dramatic play area, with her bowls and things, but then we can turn around and we can use them for real in the kitchen. And she, you know, if I had her come and stir a mix, and I had her use my whisk, it works, but it doesn't work as well because it's big and it's awkward for her. And so she's learning, but not near as much. Whereas whenever I give it to her in her size, she's learning it exactly the same way I'm doing it, and she can really get those skills down. And so I have seen a dramatic shift in her, because used to I didn't have those utensils. I just had regular size things, but dramatic shift in how involved she wants to be in the kitchen and how much she is learning, and how much she actually is helping. So when she uses that whisk, I really can give her a mix and know that she'll mix it up. Used to, whenever I would give her my size stuff, I had to go back behind her and do it. You know, the ladle and the spatula is the same way. So if we pour a mix into a pan, she can take her own spatula and scoop it straight into the pan, and I don't have to help at all anymore, which is really nice. So a couple of other things. This is one I think is huge, and I do have these with me. These are, and you can get them in all different sizes, shapes, colors, anything like that. But they're child-safe knives. So these will cut your fruits and vegetables, but they will not cut your skin. And so I'm just sawing on my skin here in all different directions, and it's not doing anything. But I can take this and I can cut a pepper, or I can cut zucchini, or anything like that. And so this is a really good way to get kids involved in the kitchen safely. And so obviously we don't want them to just be in the play area, because they are still sharp. They can, you know, cut our fruits and vegetables. But they're a great tool that is a kitchen only. It's a good way to teach knife safety, that anything that looks like this, you know, is sharp and we want to stay away from it. But in the kitchen, while we're in here, with me in here, we can use this. And then, you know, while they're using it, that they can't cut themselves, which is really nice. They're not going to cut a thumb off as they're slicing or chopping. So highly recommend child-safe knives to help get your kids involved in the kitchen. Next thing I recommend is some sort of scooper. And so if you do scoop something or need some sort of something for an ingredient, this is, yes, a kid can just pick up with their hands, right? But this is a really good way to have them hold something. And so we're building some skills here while they scoop onto something, or hold and scoop into, and then gather it up. And then it's kind of another good skill as they balance and dump. And so I really like some sort of scooper like this. That is probably not the official word for what this is, but that's what I end up calling it. I use it a ton as an adult, but it's been really helpful for kids in the kitchen as well. And then a couple of other things just that are helpful is some sort of the silicone plates. It doesn't have to look like this. but they have bowls, they have anything like this. So when you are cooking, I really like the bowls especially because when you are cooking, so say they've sliced something up, they've used their scooper and they go to dump. If they were to hit their arm as they try to dump it, the bowl's not going to scoot away from them. So you're much less likely to have kitchen mishaps and disasters and spills when you have bowls and plates that don't move when the kids move around it, right? And so silicone based, and if you can't have silicone based bowls or plates, you can get silicone mats that then you set your bowl or your plates on, and then they won't go anywhere as well. And so they just look like placemats, rectangular placemats that are silicone. They are a lifesaver in my home. We try to get my daughter into the kitchen as much as we can. Even if it's just something as simple as baking a frozen pizza, we let her rip the plastic off, lift the pizza up and place it on the pizza pan. It has taught her that the stove is hot, the oven is hot. The microwave has steam, the air fryer can be hot. Every appliance that we use, we talk to her about the safety pieces of it. And even though she's not even 2 yet, she knows, when we go near the oven to back away. She knows not to touch the controls on the stove, different things like that, that help us avoid future disasters, but also get her involved and make. Plus then, like I said, as soon as something that she has helped me make is out of the oven or off the stove or whatever it is, she wants to try it. And she's not, she used to be really good about trying new foods, but she is not anymore now that she's kind of hit toddler stage, unless she helped prepare it. And she didn't even have to do it at all, because like I said, I know that you all have a lot of kids in your center, so you maybe can take turns, maybe some help with breakfast, some lunch. Maybe they all have just one task that goes into, what you make. And that's okay. They can be prep steps. They don't have to be anything with the heating or anything like that. And so even if it's something as simple as making a sandwich, have them untwist the twist tie from the sandwich thing, and then you can pull the bread out if that's, something that needs to happen. Maybe they can unscrew the jar off of your almond butter or whatever it is. So have them unscrew it, things like that. So another thing that I like to use, and these are simple, but they are a great way to get kids to eat more fruit, is icicle popsicle molds. I'm not sure which one to call them, but they don't have to be for sugary popsicles, right? So we put water in here, and we crush up some fruit and we put that in there. Sometimes we puree the fruit and stick that in there straight. Sometimes I just do plain juice, 100% juice, no sugar added. I pour it in there, let it freeze. And so this applies to my daughter and my niece and my nephew, who, when they're not juice drinkers, they will absolutely chow down on it when it's frozen. And then this is a good way to get the kids pouring, right? So they could pour their own juice into it. And I know this one's still wrapped up, I'm sorry. They could pour their own juice into it, put their own lid on, and then it's a good tool as they learn to kind of softly pour it out. And so that's really popular in our house as well. Some other fun things, you can get little chef hats really inexpensively. They could decorate if they want, and this gets your kids excited about being in the kitchen, so that's something simple as well. So again, just wanted to show you some quick things, and then I'm actually going to show you 2 videos of kids actually using these things, and then the end will be several recipes that you could screenshot if you want, that are great with kids, getting kids involved in the kitchen, plus kids like to eat them. And so I'll add some recipes on at the end. Again, I hate that we don't get to do this in person. I feel like I get to do quite a bit more with you and make it more intentional and exciting when it's in person. But thank you for the opportunity to let me talk to you. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions at all if you have any about specific recipes or about getting the kids involved in the kitchen. Because again, I know that you have big groups, but it is doable. And they can learn so many things from getting to help, even if, again, it's those simple tasks from getting to help in the kitchen. So good luck to you all. Thank you for what you do. As a mom now, I haven't seen you all in person since I was a mom, but I know the value of good childcare now and how hard it is to find. So just on a personal note, thank you all for what you do and what you do for your families and for your kiddos that you love on every day. So good luck. Hopefully we'll see you in person next year, and enjoy these next 2 video clips of having some kids in the kitchen, and the disaster, because there absolutely will be disaster and mess, but so worth it. But the disaster that can happen, but also the good that can happen, and how you can use some of these tools that we've talked about in the kitchen to help make it easier on the kids when they help you. So see you all next year, hopefully, and good luck. Enjoy. Okay, so garden patch salad. It's got all these vegetables. Would you eat this if your mom packed it for your school lunch?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk school lunch. What are some other things that you all would like to see packed in your lunchbox? Tell some moms and dads out here some good ideas for school lunches this year.
Macaroni.
Okay.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly, a classic. Avery likes macaroni. What else? What about some fruits and vegetables? What would you like to see?
Strawberries.
Strawberries, okay.
Apple.
Grapes, apples. So all easy things.
That's in season.
Do what?
Watermelon whenever it's in season.
What, you like watermelon? Okay. So all simple things that your parents can put in. We'll wash that. Can you take that over to the sink and wash it?
I put this one in.
Yeah, it's fine. Parents can put in your lunch boxes, right?
Yes.
What about, instead of just fruits and vegetables, what about some main meals? What kind of meats do you like to see in school lunches?
I like, I don't know. Meats I'm used to eating outside of school.
What about if they put, like, pepperoni slices in your lunchbox? Would you eat that?
I think pepperonis are spicy, but Hudson would.
Okay. Or does it always have to be a ham sandwich?
Anything to cut.
No. Can they have
Don't add anything to cut.
some soups? Yeah, we still got squash.
I like broccoli cheddar soup.
Broccoli cheddar soup. Okay, so they could stick that in a thermos. You can have my knife. Stick that in a thermos.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to scoot this around a little bit. My hands are clean.
Over here.
To kind of show you that this is different colors. All right, so if you noticed, Hudson, every time he would chop, the zucchini or squash would roll off the table. We have not served those in our bowl here. So one trick that you can do is take your squash or zucchini or cucumber, whatever it is, and go ahead and cut it in half. And that gives the kids a flat surface to work on, where hopefully those vegetables won't roll away like they were. And it's okay if in the recipe they're in half instead of in circles. That's no big deal. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for Hudson to cut those up as he works. All right, so I'm gonna move back here and help you out and keep asking questions. Okay, so we have garden patch salad, and it's got.
What just happened? I just hurt myself.
The whole point of this is. This is Riley, and she loves to help me in the kitchen.
And me.
And so, yeah. And so I'm going to show you a couple of things that we have at our house that make cooking with Riley a lot easier. And then she's actually going to do the mixing. So I'll try to hold the camera angled just a little bit. She's already practicing here. One thing I want to preface it with, first I apologize if anybody cries at any point. But also, if you're going to cook with your toddlers, you just have to kind of let go of the idea that it's going to be clean and that it's going to go great. She spills brownie mix, cake mix, cracks eggs everywhere, but she's learning. And so we go ahead and we let her do that, and then we just try to we try to not spill that, all of those things, and so she can improve each time. And I can vouch for the fact that since she has started cooking with me or my husband, she is much better. She cracks her eggs now. She can pour into the bowl almost always without spilling. But let me give you a couple of tips. So I use measuring cups that have a handle like this. But Riley struggles with those. And so toddlers' motor skills
they get their motor skills kind of from the shoulder down. So their hands and fingers are the last things that get their skills. Hold on. And so you kind of have to think about, they can do big movements, but those smaller movements are a little bit harder. And so wrist rotation is a little bit tricky. So in our house, I went to the thrift store and we found this pitcher. And Riley can pour this pitcher much easier than she can turn this measuring cup. And so anytime we cook with Riley, if we're making something that has oil or water or anything like that, I always pour the amount that is needed into that pitcher. I measure it out first and then pour it into that pitcher, and then Riley's able to pour this way. Much easier, because this is kind of a whole arm motion, whereas turning something like this, you really need that wrist rotation. And so she spills from these a lot more. She spills from this very rarely. She'll spill everywhere today because we're on video. The other thing is, again, sort of since that wrist rotation can't happen with this, sometimes I put our ingredients in bowls already, or some sort of containers, Tupperware container, something like that, where she can grab the sides with two hands and dump. It still does require a little bit of wrist rotation, but not so much that measuring cup does. The other thing we have at our house is toddler size utensils. And so these all came from the store where everything is only $1 bill. And they've been great. So she helps do eggs with her little spatula. She helps scoop out brownies. She helps mix the brownies. She's going to help mix our master mix today. She uses her spatula to scoop mix out into pans when we're cooking. And then we haven't used our ladle a whole lot yet, but she does use it sometimes. As for a knife, we don't use, if you follow our Hardin County Extension page, we have the Laugh and Learn kits this month that actually have child-safe knives in them. They are great. My niece and nephew are 9 and 5, and they use those, and they're great. You can kind of cut along your skin, and you don't cut yourself. But for Riley, we have a knife like this, where it actually has a handle, and she can cut into that. So we don't cut anything too drastic, but we do still cut some things. Are you ready to cook? You ready to mix stuff? Mix, yes. So those are just some things that we have that help make cooking with toddlers a whole lot easier in our house. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to make the master mix first. And Riley's choice today is going to be to scoop out of this with her spoon, which is fine. So the master mix takes 4 cups of all-purpose flour. You can dump that into the bowl. Good job. You can do that. Can you see she's just kind of scooping into the bowl? And now, again, I'll show you the bowl. Whoops, I dumped some in, didn't I? Here in just a minute. Good job. So this is our all-purpose flour. It is different from self-rising. So, you ready, Mom? You dump some more? So if you have a recipe that differentiates between the two, try to get the one, that was Mommy's fault, that it says. Good job. So then here's where we have a little bit of difference. We are going to use some whole wheat flour. And so this calls for 2 cups of whole wheat flour there. This one she's just going to dump in. Good job, Riley. Okay. Then it calls for 2/3 a cup of sugar. Can you scoop this in or dump this in? Which do you want to do? You want to dump it? Good. And then you need 2 tablespoons of baking powder and a tablespoon of baking soda. And so those are both in there, and Riley just dumped that right in. I held the other ones because they were a little bit heavier, and one of them was glass. But this one was plastic and small, so she did that. All right. So I'll try to... Can you stir that up, Riley? Can you stir that up? Yeah. Let's get your whisk. That's what you like to use. You want to use your whisk? Yeah? All right. And just stir all that up, okay? one thing I forgot to, another tip is a lot of times I put a silicone mat underneath any bowls that we're stirring, and then the bowls don't go anywhere. So that's an option as well. Sometimes her stirring is like that, up and down, but that's okay. It still is mixing those ingredients together. We are going to use 1 cup of master mix. You want to dump that in the bowl? Yeah. All right, you can see she's dumping. Good job. Again, that handle is a lot easier for her. Then we are going to use, we don't need that yet, baby. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Can you pour this in there? Can you pour that in there? Good job. You see, she just kind of turns it over with her hand like that. Good job. All right, we need 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Oh, we'll have to get Sis here in a second. Can you pour that in there? Pour our cinnamon in. Good job. Okay, let me take that. We need 3/4 cup of skim milk, which I've already dumped into her little pitcher here. Good job. Not a drop spilled. Good job, baby. Okay, and then we need 1 egg. So here is how we do the egg, and it may not work for everybody. It may not work this time because it doesn't always work for us. So we have our egg just in a glass bowl. And she's watched her dad crack enough eggs that she knows to kind of separate. And so what we try to do is slam the egg down. Let me try to move it a little bit. Slam the egg just enough that it makes a crack, and then she's able to kind of bust that crack open. So it doesn't always work. We always do it in a separate dish. That way we can get on any shells before we dump it into what we're working with. Oh, wait. Let Mommy help this time. Like that. And so it kind of just creates enough of a crack that she usually can dig her fingers in and open it up. Can you get it open? Oh, see, doesn't always work. That one would have worked, but went down the side of the dishwasher. So hold on just a second. We're going to get another egg, and we'll be right back. All right, take 2 on our egg. So I'm going to crack just enough. We're going to turn our bowl a little bit opposite. And break that open. Can you crack it open? Get the egg out. Eggs are new for us, just so you know, if you can't tell. Can you hold it and pour that out? Here, you do it. You're not going to do it today. But that's okay. We made a little bit of a mess with our egg, but that's okay. Can you pour the egg into our pancake mix? Good job. Perfect. Okay, now, good job. Get your whisk. She was stirring it with her little spatula while I was trying to get Sutton. And again, a silicone mat.